What's up, guys? Back again with the boat, starting my newest project. Gonna be converting this thing back to a steering wheel. This was my first attempt and it didn't really go well. I didn't have the necessary supplies, so I'm trying it again, and this time I think it's gonna work out a lot better. First time I got an old motor with an old Teleflex kit, old steering wheel, and everything was just so corroded on it. I could not get it to work. Couldn't make a console because I couldn't take the steering wheel apart to mount it onto the console. So I'm actually going to be taking this bench out, making a little console with this wood, and making a this is going to be like the top part of the console where the steering wheel mounts to. That's going to go across here. And I am going to be taking this out, which technically means I'm removing support, but adding this piece in long ways all the way across will definitely add structure back to it. So whatever I add, or whatever I take away, I'm gonna add back. I got those seats there. I'm gonna cut up these 2x4s to make platforms for the seats, and use 2 pieces of plywood to kind of anchor it down onto the boat. Excuse me. And I do have a steering wheel kit that's going to be getting mounted up here. It's going to connect right here to this tube. And I have a throttle kit coming. It's really just a cable kit, and then a separate throttle lever that's going to be mounted up there. Everything's 16 feet long. And this is a 16-foot boat, which obviously I'm not going to mount it at the very front of the boat there, but it definitely gives you enough room to play around there and make bends in it and stuff like that. So that's going to work out good. Tiller's going to be gone. What else? Yeah, today I'm only going to be working on the console here because I'm still waiting on the throttle control and throttle cable to come in. I already have the cable to use the Teleflex kit, so I could really get that all mounted up today. We'll see how far I get. I've used the front up here for a lot of storage, so before I do anything, I got all that stuff out. I'm going to vacuum it up in here and try to get it to look nice. And eventually I'm going to have to flush some water through here to get all the residual gas out, because there's actually, you can see where these rust little corrosion points are. There's 3 little holes in the boat from constantly scraping the front of it. So I'm going to be patching that up with MAP gas and aluminum rods, and then I'm going to try to cover this whole section with a JB weld just to give it some extra layering. Alright, so I got the front vacuumed out. I got that first bench out. Now I can put those boards in and see exactly how I want to have this thing lined up. I think what I might end up doing is either using the old piece or getting another piece of wood to put back in here and mounting the console basically right against that. But we'll see what I decide to do. Alright, here's an update. Worked on it all day yesterday. Got the console finished. Got the steering wheel mounted. Got everything hooked up. Basically just cut this piece to size. Cut it around here. Drilled through it. Drilled through this boxed aluminum. And gas tank and battery is still there. There's the helm mounted up. I just gotta put that plastic cover on that piece right there. I gotta cut some space right here to make it a little bit more comfortable for your legs. Seats are in there. One thing I didn't think about before, an added benefit is you can see I still got all the other benches in here. And with these benches mounted in the middle, they limit flex of the structure in the middle of the boat, which isn't optimal. Optimal would be if they limited flex at the top here, which is where the most flex occurs. Most flex doesn't occur in the middle. It occurs up here because it's the open space. With that being said, you can see here, this is still very flexible. And then if you go right here, about a foot away from where this wood is mounted, completely solid. So an added benefit to putting the console up here is the boat is now way stiffer up front. And it's different in the back too because of these reinforcements that I made. But I'll do another bench seat using wood like that back here somewhere and put like pads on it and stuff. And it's not going to be a bench seat like this. It's going to be a bench seat with like a back on it to make it more comfortable. Because I didn't realize it before, but having an actual seat to sit on when you're on the boat is infinitely more comfortable than just sitting on these benches. I guess that should go without saying, but yeah, anyways, I got the steering cables running all the way back here. Mounted up perfectly to the tube here. And here's the tie rod and the push rod. All works good. There's a little bit of rubbing right here, so I might just grind this a little bit. That's just an opening to the motor. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Still waiting on the throttle cable and the throttle levers to get here. Turns out I'm not going to use the controls that came with it. I had the throttle cable hooked up into it, and it was just too what's the word I'm looking for? I didn't have enough. I'd hook it up to the throttle, and it wouldn't have, when the console controls were at full throttle, the engine was at like a third throttle, and it didn't matter how much adjusting I did to it, I couldn't get it to work right. So that's fine. I ordered a new kit. It's like $100. It was on sale on eBay. And they make a bunch of them. I had a lot of good reviews, so I said, might as well try it, right? We're gonna see how it works. And that will, the throttle level kit I ordered has 2 cables that goes into it. It's forward reverse, and the 2 cables actually allow you to hook up your throttle and your forward reverse. So yeah, I'll make another bracket to go in here, since this motor obviously didn't come with one of those, and we'll go from there. Shouldn't be that bad. Gotten this far, right? Yeah, so today I think my plans for today are to cut out the hoops here for the legs and sand this thing down a little bit and paint it. I'm going to paint it and seal it with the same stuff I did when I made this transom. It doesn't look new, but it's just dirty right now. It's a brand new transom. Works awesome. But what I use to seal the transom and what I'm going to use to seal and coat the console is this stuff. Rust-Oleum leak seal, basically the same thing as Flex Seal, just a little bit cheaper. And then for cracks and wedges and stuff like that, I'm going to use this. Just some waterproof silicone sealer. This is just going to go all along the cracks. Maybe a tiny bit right here. I'm going to try to fill up all these holes, all these spaces, although I might use foam for that. Yep, that's pretty much it for now. Alright, so I was getting ready to start brazing, and then I realized that the aluminum wasn't leaking at all. So I thought for some reason that it was dripping right here and somehow oxidizing up here. But that obviously wasn't the case. It was just leaking from the epoxy that joins the two metals, in addition to the rivets. So what I did was ground down and removed the area around where the seam was bad. And I definitely removed more than I had to, but I wanted to make sure that I married it to the other epoxies. Ground it down, got it nice and shiny, wiped it with alcohol, waited for the alcohol to dry, and just used JB Weld, and not JB Quick Weld or anything like that, just regular old JB Quick Weld. It works better for something like this, and it takes 24 hours to cure and you're back on the water. So you can see I wedged it in there pretty good. Just gonna wait for it to cure for 24 hours. I'm gonna sand it a little bit and paint it. Then up here, this is the same area on the inside. I did the same thing. Sanded it down, used a wire wheel actually. And I actually had to clean this whole area before. I vacuumed it and cleaned it with soap and water. So I ground it down with a wire wheel, wiped it off with alcohol, waited for it to dry, and then applied more epoxy in there because there was already some in there that I took out. So figured it wouldn't hurt to put it on the inside there too. Then, after I did that, I started working on the wiring. So I had a switch, on-off switch right there that was tied into the ignition coil and the motor. Just ignition coil was one wire, and the other one was to ground on the motor. And then I had a push button start in this area right here. So all I did was cut the wires for those two switches. Cut it right here. This is one for the starter, and then right here for the starter. That was power, and this one was ground. And I used these connectors at Home Depot that I got. I'm gonna cover them in some electrical tape. I also wiped all those down with alcohol to get all the oil off of them. And basically same thing here. These are for the switch. I just cut them off, put new crimp connections on them. I just gotta burn the ends to seal them. ran all the wires down here underneath the seats. And I cut out a hole there with this guy, and in the process I got this stuck in there. I had this piece of copper plate laying around, figured it needed a use. So I cut it to fit, put some holes in it. That's going to be a push button start. And then the on off switch is going to go in that other hole right next to it. It's going to fit in there really nicely. What's up, guys? So I'm tired as shit of running cables up and down this boat. So I decided, instead of running another cable for the choke, I was going to attempt to make the electronic choke work. Clean the connections, it wasn't working. A while ago I hooked up power to it and it wasn't working, so I cleaned the connections and we're gonna see if it works now. Alright, so that's the choke. It's in the open position. There's no choke on right now. There's the motor. This is the motor right here. It's got a ground connected to it already. And this is the hot switch. I've just got a regular old car battery hooked up to the positive. Nothing else connected. It's got its own ground, so you don't need to do that. And we're going to connect this and see if it works. That is awesome. So power on, choke on, power off, choke off. Power on. Power on. There we go. Power off. And that's settled. Going with the electronic choke. That is one less mechanical cable to run. Alright, I showed you guys that the electronic choke worked, so I figured I'd show you the not the final product because it's not wired into the bezel yet, like how I'm gonna have it wired in. But I do have it wired in so it's mechanically working. So all I did was take some wiring I have. I think it's 14 gauge. I got one of these big crimp connectors I had. And one trick for making a wire fit in a connector that's way too big for it is you take the wire and you basically, for an example, you take it like this and you just fold it up, bare wire. It's got to be bare wire. You fold it up into seconds, fourths, or eighths, like that, until it's thick enough, and then you just clamp it down. That's exactly what I did here, and it's perfect. Then we'll come around here. Gave myself a little electric burn. You can't see it. I gave myself a little electric burn from the battery. Got my heart kicking a little bit, but that's all right. So, from the battery, I got a wire coming to a switch. Switch is in the off position. And then the wire that's connected to the other side of that switch is spliced in to the power wire that was right here. And this is where the power wire was attached to for the old harness. But this is where it's connected to for the switch. And this is the power wire that goes right up here into this switch or solenoid. I think it's a solenoid. But anyways, obviously I can't show you the choke working with me using the switch at the same time, but you can probably hear it. Ready? You can kind of see. You can just, I'll try to show you the linkage moving. You can kind of see it right there. The linkage is moving. Alright guys, here's the finished product. Not finished product, but this is the functional product. I still got to paint it and finish mounting all the switches. My awesome lever came in the mail. It's a C-Lux. You can get them for $100 on eBay. It's a very, anytime you're having troubles with your control lever that came with the boat, This is an easy way to solve that problem if you're mechanically inclined to do so. It connects your shift lever and your throttle lever, so it controls both of them. Both of them will move as they're supposed to. There's my electric choke switch, on-off switch, start button. Everything's zip tied together. I still got to get some conduit to run it all the way back to the boat. And you can see my my rigged levers to attach the cables. These are just shelving brackets that I drilled out, found the right position for. I'll cut these and paint them and stuff to make them look better, but they are 100% functional. Here's all the wires coming out of the outboard. Still got to get the seats mounted, but other than that, it's ready. We're going to take it out today and see how it does.